How does one go about introducing Scott Grace? He's elusive, but I've come up with a few P words that I thought kind of come close. For example, profound. I think we could all agree he's remarkably profound. He's prolific. Yes. Isn't that true? Very prolific. He's perceptive, deeply perceptive, and maybe even pioneering. I think that's what we're going to find tonight, the pioneering spirit of Scott Grace. His books, his music, his humor, all of it defy description.
He's playful.
But he's playful. That's another good one.
Good one.
That's maybe the top one. Thank you. So tonight, Scott is going to be setting off in a whole new direction, and I'm sure that it's going to establish a whole new level of notoriety. So please join me in welcoming Scott Grace.
It's so good to be with you folks. I'm so glad. Thank you, James. That was a beautiful introduction. And here we are. And we're going to be talking and singing about stuff that for many people, it's very traumatic. What's going on in our country, what's going on around the world. It's not fun stuff. However, we are going to be fun tonight. And I'm not here to belittle anyone for their pain. I do remember when 9/11 happened, and all the late night comedian hosts and just about everybody didn't dare laugh or crack a joke, except a magazine I used to read called The Onion, which was a political satire. They came out a few days later with a version, and the front page made me crack up with tears and laughter. It was like all this tension got released. All it was a picture of the Twin Towers in flames with the words, "Holy effing shit." Big exclamation point. And for some reason, that gave me permission to just start laughing, and I realized that there's a place for comedy, and it can be healing. So, without further ado, we are suffering in our country, and it's spreading like wildfire. And recently, scientists have isolated that there is a virus, and it's more powerful than COVID ever was. Much more contagious. It's spread friends, family. You can get it from social media. In fact, algorithms have really increased its chaotic epidemic proportion. And so the disease is MWHW. MWHW, and it stands for My Way or the Highway. And for those of you going, oh, I don't think I have that, it's the other side. It's the other side that has that. Guess what? That's one of the symptoms. Right? Yeah. So there's also something going on, mostly in the blue states. It's an epidemic of PTSD, which in the blue states now stands for President Trump stress disorder. So here we are. And I wrote a poem about the disease, the virus, MWHW, and how we get it and what it does to our brains. And I just finished it today. So here it is, hot off the presses. There's a dark pair of glasses that blocks out the light. Just putting them on makes me very uptight. They show me two colors, just black and just white. I know that you're wrong, 'cause I'm always right. This pumps up my blood pressure high as a kite and puts me on standby for a flight or a fight. In my mental kingdom, I've total dominion. No room in my head for a second opinion. I can see those glasses on Trump or on Putin, but in my own mirror, that I'm disputing. I'd rather forget my own mind's battlefront and blame all my troubles on Biden or Trump. Could it be the whole nation's now wearing these glasses, which makes us complainers who sit on our asses and use social media to bitch and moan, our eyes off each other and staring at our phones? May tonight help us take off those glasses and see what's beyond all opinions, our humanity. So one of my intentions through everything we do tonight is to help people feel less polarized. Because there are two places on Earth that are the most polarized, the North and the South Pole. And guess what they have in common? They're freaking ass cold. And when we polarize and forget our common humanity, our hearts get cold. So I want tonight to be magical. I want it to be unifying. There is something I need to say. Just before we get there, I was crafting this material over the last few months, and what I found was that I was trying really hard to not offend anyone. I would send out a piece of the material to my Facebook friends, and I called them my board of advisors because they're all so generous with their feedback. No, actually it was quite helpful. But, most people, when you ask them for feedback, they'll tell you, what they think, which is a big mistake. So some people said, you know what, that's going to offend the right. And another person on a different note would say, that's going to offend the left. And I started worrying about offending the woke movement. And maybe I might offend the can't we just sleep for a few more decades movement. I was just trying to squeeze myself into this little box. And what I found was I was getting pretty confined. And I just took myself out of the box and realized that it would not be my benefit to try to hide my politics behind this neutral, neutered presentation. So I realized I can't hide my liberal bias, though it makes me sound so pious. Ow, my shit don't sting. It smells like incense at its finest. There ain't no way to hide my liberal bias, 'cause I just know that my IQ is just the highest. Oh baby now, sorry, I can't hide my liberal bias. By the way, those of you from the new millennium, so that song was a song from the 1970s by a group called the Eagles, and you might want to Google them, or just maybe you study it in history class. I don't know what you study. Golly. So you might ask, I do, where did I get my liberal bias? And I think the answer is it's hereditary. If you ask most people where they get their politics, usually it's from their family. Usually. It's a relative thing. It's all relative. So where did I get my liberal bias? Mostly, both of my parents were liberal, but mostly I remember my mother, 96 years old, and probably watching this at home. Mama, mwah, love you. I'm about to disparage you. Forgive me. So my mother was very conservative? What? She was very liberal. Bleeding heart liberal. And one of the ways she bled was when her brother, my Uncle Richard, came over. And they would always end up arguing. It was like our Thanksgiving dinners went from a little gratitude to a lot of heated Fox News, CNN debates. And she used to say to me, Scotty, I hate conservatives so much, and I hate how much I hate conservatives. I hate myself for hating. I don't know what to do. And I wisely didn't answer that because I recognized it wasn't a question. She was just venting. Yeah. But I did ask her once, hey, why not just not bring up politics when Richard is around? Because she was the one that always brought it up. And she said, and I almost quote, I can almost remember her saying this, oh, Scott, that sounds so mature. I don't think I'm up to it. I feel like I'm addicted to arguing. And I thought, well, maybe we're all addicted to arguing right now in this country. And I also remember that when I was just getting into his first presidency, adjusting to it, one of the ways that I soothed myself was to write a book about it. And I called it How to Evolve During the Trump Experience, Whether Humanity Joins You or Not. And as far as I can tell, it was nonpartisan and had nothing to do with politics, and it had to do with just taking care of yourself emotionally and pulling back from the polarization and being human in these chaotic times. Like, what's it like to be a human being? So I went out on a public speaking tour, and everyone who hired me said, whatever you do, don't talk about that book. Some even went as far to say, don't even put it on the products table. And I understood, because there were people in the audience on both sides of the fence, and nobody wanted to just, make people up and in outrage and walk out, and that's what would have happened. Now, he who shall not be named, Lord Voldemort, tonight is going to be named, sung about, discussed. Not disgust like in disgusting. I mean, we're going to discuss. I hope that's clear to you listening at home. So when he first was elected, I must confess that I joined the outrage Olympics. I was shocked. I was outraged. I watched the news that supported my position. I watched the late night comedian hosts who always had something really funny to say. Now, it helped me blow off steam. It helped me release. I had a release every night with, Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel, and I needed that. This time around, I'm not watching the late night comics. There's a reason for that, but I'm not going to tell you. Okay, twist my arm. So what was going on is they were disparaging. They were making it seem like there's just one right way and one evil person. And it was black and white thinking. Just like my poem, I'm getting to a point where that's no longer what I want to support. And there's a song I wrote during that first term, which I am not proud of. I mean, it really makes people laugh. It makes myself laugh. But it actually gives Trump the shaming, negative stuff that he is often fond of giving his enemies or his people who he feels threatened by. He gives them names and he shames them and makes fun of them. And so I wrote a song that gave him a taste of his own medicine. And I've outgrown it, but it's so fun. I want to ask, instead of for your permission, I want to ask for your forgiveness while I play this song one last time. It feels kind of like when you should break up with somebody, but you just have one more special night. This is my last time, I promise. Never singing this song again. And it's called Donald's Song. And it's a takeoff on the words Danny's Song from Kenny Loggins and Messina. It was his first big hit. Even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey. Okay, so I was just sitting here fantasizing about what Donald would say if he had to change the words to make it all about him. Yeah. People say I'm insecure underneath it all, that I build my towers tall to compensate for something small. Had me 3 trophy wives with looks that kill, but in bed too and chill. Glad I had prenuptials, even though I don't keep a honey. I'm so in love with my money. Every day I make $1 million more. In the morning when I rise, I pull the wig right over my eyes. Tell myself all day that I'm always right. Now let that sink in, huh? Oh my goodness. So, again, forgiveness, please. Those of you that have walked out, just drive safely. I know you're triggered. But really, why I don't stand for that song, it's the opposite of my values. Gandhi said an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Martin Luther King did not say, I have a complaint. There is a part of me, you met him earlier in the poem, I call the spiritual Dr. Seuss, who has this to say about complaining. Ask and it's given, it says in the Bible. But if you're like me, then you're really quite liable to ask in a way that sounds more like complaining. Not like, let there be sun. More like, make it stop raining. And when you are focused on what you don't want, the universe has no choice but to respond in a way in which you're given what you're focused on. It could drive you to web surf at hopeless.com. Now, one of the things I do is I teach something called nonviolent communication, or NVC. And I teach it because I need to learn it. I think that's true for all of us. We teach what we need to learn or what we are learning. And for me, nonviolent communication, or NVC, I almost broke my vow of nonviolence when my daughter was 3 years old. And she and I were playing on the bed, and she unexpectedly and really with a lot of strength slapped me on my cheek. And before I could even think about it, like a reflex, my hand went out and came this close to hitting her back. But somehow it seemed like time slowed down and maybe even stopped, because I was able to have a little conversation with my hand. What do you think you're about to do? And my hand said, teach her a lesson in nonviolence. And I was able to put my hand down because inside it was so obvious that that's not where my conscious choice would be. And I was able to say, Asia, it's not okay to hit me or anybody for any reason. Do you understand? And she said, okay. There was no guilt, no shame. It just was a time to be gentle and firm. And as far as I know, she hasn't hit anyone since, and she's 16. Yeah. But this NVC, this nonviolent communication, I need it because my head is filled with violence. It may not slap, but I certainly slap judgments on people. It's like there's a part of my brain, maybe it's reptilian, that is constantly dividing the world into angels and assholes, making these judgments as if people are all good or all bad. And that's not what I know, but it is the first thing my mind does. And, like to me, President Trump, okay, like he may fit the archetype of asshole, no offense. But here's the thing. Do I really want to be another contestant in the outrage Olympics? Because when I stand by those judgments and put energy into it, what happens is I'm no good. Meaning I'm not making a contribution. I'm not living up to my values, which is like what Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. And that's what I think I'm doing, but there's just a part of my brain that hasn't caught up with my heart yet. And that part of my brain is, somebody cut me off on the freeway once and I went, asshole! And I went home and I laughed at myself because I remember more than once or twice being somebody who cut somebody else off on the freeway and having somebody say, asshole! Out their window. So I guess I realized that when, this is a cliche, but when I'm pointing the finger at somebody, there's 3 fingers pointing back at me. And in 12-step recovery work, they say, if you spot it, you got it. Whoa, that's a level of self-responsibility I'm not ready for. Maybe I need to say it again. If you spot it, you got it. So I went home from that freeway incident, and I wrote a song to help me laugh and to help me look at myself, because it's hard to be a grown-up sometimes. So this is the 12-step serenity prayer on steroids. God grant me the serenity to accept the assholes you sent to me. Like Captain Picard, I ask of you, God, to make it so I can let go of this need to be right, the thrill of the fight. If I had rabies, I might offer a bite. Don't hear my call, send a grain of your salt, so I can take myself with some light. God, grant me the serenity to accept the asshole inside of me. Hard as I try to be a non-judging guy, sometimes I'm just looking through my anal eyes. God, I'm down on my knees, where I'm starting to see calling others asshole is a self-diagnosis. And I'd rather set myself and everyone free by loving all God's assholes unconditionally. When you learn how to draw, you holy child of God. Thank you very much. God, did I fantasize about being a rock star? Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, I admit it. I do divide the world up into angels and assholes, but I can see it. And I don't give it that much energy. I don't take it so seriously anymore. Donald Trump fits the archetype, in my mind, of a major asshole. But, and this is an important but. So what I'm missing when I get to this asshole thing is that I feel so right about what an asshole he is. I feel so right about how arrogant he is. I feel so right about how wrong he is. And it's like my conscience is whispering in the background, let he who is without arrogance cast the first Facebook post. It's easy to be a critic, isn't it? Isn't it? It's just so easy. It's like a reflex. And I'm first to admit I love criticizing. I'm fond of it. It's home. And it's home base. And you know what? Some people are really good at criticizing the world, and other people really love sticking it to themselves. I'm proud of this. I'm ambidextrous. I go both ways. I think that if I went to a hospital and they took a CAT scan or an X-ray of my brain, they'd put me on the critical list. I believe they'd put me in critical condition. Maybe the whole country right now is in critical condition. Either way, there's something we can do about our own inner critics and really This is not positive thinking. Norman Vincent Spiel, may you rest in peace. But what I'm encouraging is that we really look at it without being critical of ourselves for being so critical. It's called being a witness of the mind. And to me, that is the most profound tool. I feel like whenever I'm witnessing my thoughts, instead of identifying with them, I'm in the witness protection program. I don't take myself so seriously. So see if you can find your inner critic and have a laugh at it as the spiritual Dr. Seuss takes over. Here I am. My critic travels with me on this earth and is my companion for worser or worse. It pretends it's my coach, my badass amigo, and it pours on the guilt. It's the beverage of ego. It's there to protect us, to help us feel strong, so it has to remind you, you've done it all wrong. You're weak and you're lazy and you don't have a clue. That's your drill sergeant critic trying to motivate you. Your critic wants you to be all you can be. So it gives you these pep talks all day and for free. Oh, the places you'll go and the guilt trips you'll travel. As your critic plays judge and bangs down on its gavel. But you always can get some relief from your shame by projecting it onto the others you'll blame. For that is your critic at its juiciest best. It nurses your grievances close to its chest. Republicans, liberals, your parents, your ex. The world is just teeming with folks to correct. If only those fools would conform to your ways, you would get on with life without further delays. So what? Now that we know that this inner critic is not maybe our first choice, I don't believe we can just let it go, and I certainly don't believe that we can criticize ourselves away from being critical. It's just part of us. It's a knee-jerk reaction. So what we can do is replace it with a new habit. And I know many habits that would be a little healthier than just constant criticism, like maybe compassion, forgiveness, understanding, or just seeking to understand. Being curious is its own medicine. Just being curious. In fact, let me tell you something. Recently, I was on an airplane flight. And I sat in an aisle seat, and I looked over across the aisle, and there was a nice older couple there with MAGA hats on. And so I put my headphones on, and I just drowned them out. Even though they were talking, I felt this righteous anal protection come over me. And it was a 4-hour flight. So I got over my first reaction, and I took my headphones off, and I overheard them talking. They were talking about their grandchildren. And I, at this point, was preaching curiosity. So I thought, well, how about we practice what we preach? So I reached over across the aisle, verbally, so to speak, and I said, hey, I'm curious, how many grandchildren do you have? And they said 4. And as I just explored curiosity, I found myself asking just gentle questions. What are their names? Oh my God, they sound adorable. Oh, do you have any pictures? Pictures were shown. They asked me about my children. I had a daughter. So I showed them pictures. And here we were having this tender, sweet conversation. And I just so loved where we were going and what we were not engaging in. But I did feel like there was a question, a burning curiosity question, and it was me taking a big risk. It could have ruined everything. I said, do you mind if I ask you a little personal question? And they said, no. Maybe with their eyebrows raised a little, like they were being polite. And I said, what kind of world are you hoping President Trump contributes to leaving for your grandchildren? And they painted a picture that was very similar to how I want my daughter to grow up, the same world, and just really struck me that we had the same hopes and dreams, but so radically different strategies for how to bring that world about. And I stayed away from that conversation because I was so enjoying actual connecting with them. It felt like I won the emotional lottery. And I was basking in it. Mm-hmm. Because I had put connection above correction. I just want to say that again, really. Let it sink in. Connection above correction. I want you to think of something right now. You can do this at home, and don't do this while you're driving, but if you want to do it right now, just imagine with your eyes closed or open. Imagine somebody who has very different political opinions in your life. And imagine that they sat down right next to you, and imagine what your first reaction would be. But then, let's go a little further than your first reaction. Just let's go. Let's sail together beyond our first reaction and imagine that you just start wondering from a place of innate, maybe childlike curiosity. Gee, I wonder what their upbringing was like. I wonder what their parents were like. I wonder how and what they learned from their church, or I wonder if trauma has been part of their life and part of their story. And all you have to do is be curious. You don't have to have those questions answered. But can you see and feel that those questions, just asking them, can lead to curiosity, maybe even, dare I say it, compassion. Wow, what a concept. Mm-hmm. Curiosity, it's a superpower. And so I want to invite you to practice this. And don't try this at home, kids, without parent supervision. But imagine listening to people who you very enthusiastically disagree with. And imagine what it would be like to open your heart to a sense of wonder about that. Because we are all in the same boat. We're all in the SS Humanity, and we're all going down with the ship if we don't learn to listen and be curious. Curiosity instead of fear. Curiosity, it brings good cheer. When I come from shared humanity, it replaces my insanity. Oh yeah, I'd like to practice with Sean Hannity too. I wonder how many people here have not heard of Sean Hannity. Raise your hands. Oh, golly, that's fine. He was one of those, and is a right-wing talking point on Fox News and other places. So, Sean Hannity. When my daughter was 5, she found out that paper napkins were made from trees. And she said, I'm not using these anymore. So we traveled around with cloth napkins. Oh, wow. Isn't that amazing? When she was 10, she announced that she was vegan. Mm-hmm. And became interested in animal rights, environmental issues. And one of her heroes was a friend of mine, Ocean Robbins. And I decided it would be a really cool thing for her to have some Zoom time with Ocean Robbins, who's somewhat of a celebrity in the world of environmental action. So I asked him, and he said, sure. So she had a list of questions, It was very exciting. It's like almost as exciting as if it was Taylor Swift, but not even close, actually. I don't remember all her questions, but I remember like an anxious dad wanting to feed her questions and having to rein myself in. Helicopter. So the question that I really, really remember was, Ocean, what do you think the most important challenge, the biggest problem facing humanity is? I thought he would say greed, corruption, racism, climate change. The list goes on. Apathy. He really rocked my world. I wasn't expecting this, but he said fear. Forget about carbon emissions. If we can reduce the fear emissions on the planet, people would return to human nature, which is actually in harmony with nature and wants to do good, wants to be kind to each other. That was amazing. The spiritual Dr. Seuss wants to pipe in here and say something about fear. Fear prefers to stay hidden from view and play hide and seek in its host, which is you. I'm not afraid, I'm just angry, it shouts. I've been mistreated and need to speak out. I'm not afraid, I'm upset, I'm caring. There's so many disguises that fear enjoys wearing. He's proud of his wardrobe because he designed it. Though he would not admit it, fear's quite clothes-minded. I believe that it's not only boys who are programmed to deny fear. It's the whole world. The whole wide world is filled with fear, and what's on top of fear is the fear of fear. I don't know how we get it. I got it. I remember when I was 7 years old, I was really scared of water. It was like a phobia, and I hadn't gone swimming yet. And I went to a day camp, and one of the activities was swimming. So all the kids got in the pool, splashing happened, fun, and I stood there trembling. And the counselor came over and said, Scott, it's swimming time, get in the pool. And I said, do I have to? And he said, yeah, it's mandatory, but the kids love it. This is the favorite part of the day. Why don't you want to get in the pool? Because I just don't feel like it. And I started crying. As I look back on that, it's amazing to me that at age 7, I already learned that it's not okay to express, admit fear. And what happens when fear goes under covers? It turns into aggression, shame, guilt, violence. It turns into everything that hurts this planet. So, what? Just what if there was an app on your phone called the Fear Translator? And anytime you see something out there that you think is bad or hurtful in somebody else, or even something in yourself like anger or something, you can call on the Fear Translator. And of course, it has like its own Siri, but it's called Fury. So, Fury, I hate how arrogant Donald Trump is. Oh, I hate his arrogance. What fear might be underneath his arrogance? Checking. We see many fears. On top, unworthiness, fear of... Actually, it's not so much fear as shame. We see mostly shame underneath the arrogance. Would you like me to send compassion? No, not right now, but thanks. Wow, that was awesome. Fury, you are incredible. Another question. What's the story behind greed? It's so easy to just judge and hate greedy people. And is there fear underneath all that? Checking. Absolutely. There's plenty of fear. Would you like me to elaborate? Oh, yes, please. So, what we see underneath this greed is much fear of scarcity. Much fear that there's not enough. And there must be accumulation and accumulation and accumulation, just like a hamster trying to run fast enough. That is what we see behind greed. And I said, anything else? Well, would you like to hear the belief underneath the fear? Yeah, I didn't know you do that. Oh, yes, we do beliefs, no extra charge. So the fundamental belief, the foundation of that greed is the person believing that they are not enough. They are a person who doesn't know who they are. Oh, wow, thank you. Fury, that is profound. With friends like you, who needs therapists? I have another question for you, Fury. There's a lot of people right now hurting and expressing their hurt through outrage. There's a whole country of blue states and people all around the world who are outraged by what's going on. What fears, if any, are underneath people's rage right now? Checking? Oh my. Oh, very good. Okay, we have it. So, would you like it in plain language, or would you like us to flower and dress it up? No, I want it plain. Just speak the truth. What do you see? Well, we see fear of grieving, fear of pain, fear of loss of democracy. We see an overwhelming overload of empathy and the need to protect oneself from a breaking heart. We see people putting up a shield so that they don't have to experience how vulnerable they feel in their pain. Wow, Fury. What else? Oh, would you like us to drop to beliefs? Yeah, what do they believe? They are believing that to protest, to give a voice, to make progress in social change, social justice, what we see is that they believe that it's only aggression that can combat aggression. That the only strength there is in being outraged. The fight against the machine. Wow. What would you recommend for these people? Checking? We recommend to begin their healing process, to acknowledge sadness. To acknowledge sadness. Wow. Fury. That is great. You know, I should give Fury an Indian accent, right? Except I suck at that. Listen, I'm going to try it anyway. Would you like me to send compassion? Yes, please. To all people who are experiencing greed. It has been sent. Thank you. What else? Okay, is there fear behind racism? Checking. Yes, we see much fear. Much fear. Very, very fragile sense of self behind that. It is as if anyone who appears to be different, whether it be skin color or anything really, could be anything, is perceived as a threat. the other. And anybody who is the other must be a threat. Lots of fear. Lots of fear. Would you like me to send compassion? Oh, definitely. But also, while you're at it, if it isn't too much trouble, would you be also willing to... Are you able to do two things at once? Oh, yes. We are multitasking. Would you be willing to send compassion to the people who are the victims of racism? Sending now. Thank you. Wow, that was really profound. It reminds me, I grew up in this white suburban neighborhood called Mill Basin. And everyone was, well, white. And the first place I moved to when I lived on my own, I think I was age 18, was Greenwich Village. And Greenwich Village is anything but, what's the word, gentrified? Would that make sense? Yeah, it's just like every color of the rainbow exists there. And individuality is so expressed, like peacocks. People are just displaying their feathers. And at first it freaked me out. And I could relate to racism because I felt threatened. And the first reaction when I felt threatened is to judge. But I got over it. And I began to love living in Greenwich Village as if I was living in a carnival. And I wrote a song to celebrate. Yeah. One day I took me a walk in Greenwich Village, New York, to catch up on the latest crazes. I found a brand new reference for sexual preference listed in the yellow pages. Stumbled upon a crowded hair salon. The line went around the block. There was a special that day on purple body waves with a little green on the top. Yes, we're becoming a rainbow. Yes, we are seeing the lights. Wouldn't you rather see through a color TV and throw away your black and white? Yes, we're becoming a rainbow. Yes, we are seeing the lights. So hard to stay with your own kind these days when no two people look alike. Well, there's new races, new faces, new colors, new creeds. We're swimming in diversity. Company with the folks you agree with, or sample the variety. I got a born-again friend who dabbles in Zen. She's Christian in a mystical way. If you don't like your religion, get a second opinion. Why stick to only one faith these days? Yes, we're becoming a rainbow. Yes, we are seeing the lights. Would you rather see through a color TV and throw away your black and white? Yes, we're becoming a rainbow. Yes, we are seeing the lights. So hard to stay with your own kind these days when no two people look alike. When no two people think alike. When no two people are alive. Thank you. Fury. Is there fear behind hatred? You know what? I don't even need fury. This is real. Actually, just last week I was jogging by the lake and I passed a woman walking her dog, and the dog started barking and growling, and she said, "Forgive him. He hates men." As I jogged back, it was really obvious to me, no, this isn't a dog that hates men. This is a dog that's afraid of men, who feels threatened, who wants to protect his mama. And that really was so obvious. And then I thought, Okay, so if behind hatred is fear, well, maybe that's why half of the country elected a guard dog for president. He even looks like a pit bull. Why do people buy and train these dogs to be vicious? For protection, to alleviate fear. And let's call it by its name. There's all these buzzwords, and today's buzzword is anxiety. Oh, that was very good. Anxiety. And people are like saying, I need a prescription because I have anxiety, as if anxiety is a problem. It's not a problem, it's the human condition. Nobody comes to this planet without a little A. What about people who are power hungry, who crave power? Power over, domination, who want to dictate what's best for everyone, to be a dictator. Is there fear behind that? My mom was somewhat of a dictator. And whenever I had a voice or I had feelings that she was uncomfortable with, she tried to silence me with her power. At least what I thought was power. And I was talking about this with my therapist. And he said, I was just telling him all the things that she said to me over the years, blaming my mother. I did it for a few decades. And I paid, let's see, $100 an hour to get validation for all that. It was worth it. One time I was angry at my mother. I said, you should be paying for my therapy. She wasn't so codependent that she would actually do that, but part of her felt guilty, and I got her on that one. So anyway, where were we? Back to my mother. So I was complaining, venting about my mom, and my therapist said, sounds like a powerless person. And I said, no, you got that backwards. She is too powerful. And he said, Scott, don't be fooled. Anybody who uses manipulation, intimidation, aggression, or tries to get their way through guilt is powerless. And I took that in. He said, there's a curtain, and behind that curtain is a frightened person pretending to be a wizard, ruling over the citizens of Oz, or ruling over the citizens of, let's say, the USA. It's intense, but very freeing to look at somebody who is behaving in a way that is so out of harmony with your values, that looks and is very hurtful to others. He or she or whoever it is has such an impact on others. To be able to train yourself to see the fear, to smell it coming off their body. Why? Not to approve of them, not to accept their behavior, not to condone it, but to feel better yourself. Because when you're resenting somebody, it's like drinking poison and expecting them to be affected. It hurts you. So why? Why are there bullies? Why does Trump or anyone think they need to bully to get what they think they want, what they think they're entitled to? The spiritual Dr. Seuss says this about bullies. Bullies, they tend to hang out in a flock that I'd like to see put to a stop. They prey on the different, the weak and the small. And when they put you down, they feel 7 feet tall. I was bullied a few times when I was a kid. I didn't fight back, but I wish that I did. I took on the punches, the aches, and the pains. They healed up in days, not so fast with the shame. Sometimes I wonder what bullies might feel underneath the bravado if they could get real. They bully because they've been treated that way. They swallowed the hurt and someone has to pay. When you can feel for the bullied and bully, you just graduated to loving more fully. Once upon a time, somebody from Saturday Night Live, Chris Farley, I think this is about 15 years ago, maybe less, was invited to speak as Newt Gingrich in the Republican National Convention. And he did his Newt Gingrich imitation, and all the Republicans, even though he was making jokes about them, laughed and enjoyed it. The Speaker of the House was the one who hired him. That doesn't happen anymore because we're so, in my opinion, afraid. And the more afraid we are, and the more we suppress that fear, the more we get a disease called hardening of the attitudes. The more we see things as black, white, right, wrong, my way, highway. This is an advanced symptom of a disease much more invasive than COVID ever was. Fear is the virus. Fear is a virus. Golly. So what do we do to stop spreading it? Maybe turn off your TV. Get off of Facebook. God forbid. Never mind. I'm sorry, I don't know where I was going. This thing with Donald Trump is not isolated. There are autocrats rising up every part of the world. I have a theory about why this is happening. My theory is that these folks are responding to a need. There's a need in the people to feel safer. It's as if the world is moving so fast, in a positive direction, I believe, mostly. And while the world is just going so fast, way over the speed limit, for the people driving in the slow lane, sometimes clutching the steering wheel, they look and they see these vehicles, these things like transgender and incredible changes, and it just looks like they're whizzing past at a dizzying speed. And then Donald or anyone comes along and says, "Hey, I got you covered. Just get in the passenger seat, let the window down, and take in the treats. I'm going to slow this sucker down. I'm going to put it in reverse. I'm going to take us back to the good old days, back to the Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. The weekend comes, one of them, ready to rock with you. These days are all happy and free. Those happy days." So as I said, behind every autocrat is someone addicted to being right. And a bunch of people who want them to drive, that give up the steering wheel for the illusion of safety. Yeah. It reminds me of a mistake that lots of my women friends have made. It's like the fairy tales, the boy meets girl, the girl falls asleep and then the prince kisses her and she wakes up and she's saved. It's part of our culture. And I think a lot of people are looking at Donald Trump in that way. A lot of my women friends have reported this, like marrying somebody who just was Mr. Right, the knight in shining armor. And it takes a while, maybe a lot of therapy, before they realize that that knight is stuck in his armor. I wrote a song about it. Let's see if you can find Donald somewhere in this song. Hello, sweet thing, I am your perfect man. The search is over, start the wedding plans. I will take care of you, so do not fear. Just clean the house and fetch me one more beer. I am your soulmate, call me Mr. Right. I make good money and my teeth are white. I got the confidence you wish you had. I'll treat you swell if you don't make me mad. The first few months I swept you off your feet. I took you out for tasty things to eat. Now that we're steady, it's time you know just what is underneath my machismo. I got an inner child that loves to whine. He needs his mama's breast, but yours'll do fine. I throw a tantrum when I don't get my way, and deep inside, I think I might be gay. You like my muscles, I was made to win. I work out everything right in the gym. Oh, I will protect you, you're in good hands. If you play helpless, I'll play Superman. The time goes by and something isn't right. You're watching movies every day and night. You wanna talk about your feelings again? While I'm making moves on your best friend. Ow! Goodbye, sweet thing, just call me Mr. Wrong. For you have wised up and have said so long. I had you fooled until you finally discovered you can't judge a man just by reading his cover. So off I go to find my next conquest, while you get busy with a therapist. You learn some self-respect and dignity, so you don't search for daddy and guys like me. The human race, it seems, will go on mating. There ain't no future in just masturbating. You'll find your happiness without a mate, and then meet a man with no S on his. Say it loud if you know the word. K. Yeah. Oh. Thank you. So the experience that many of my women friends have described when they realize their knight in shining armor is stuck in his armor, that this man they thought was devoted to her needs, to her, was more devoted to being right, being in control, being in charge. When they realize, it's like a rude awakening. It's really painful, but it's also liberating. I think that a lot of people are waking up, maybe waking up faster because of people like Donald. There's a collective mass awakening. What are we awakening from? The collective mass hypnosis. I personally believe we've all been brain screwed, not brainwashed, because that would leave us clean. I remember starting in first grade, going to school and starting the day with, I pledge my allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. All the way through grade school. Football, baseball, basketball stadiums, all through the country, from a young age into adulthood. People, I think, maybe unwittingly, certainly they don't pledge their allegiance out loud, but I think most of us pledge our allegiance to our family belief system, to our parents' values. Some of us, whether we know it or not, pledge our allegiance to our suffering. Because whatever it is that we survived has gotten us so far, this far, it must be that it defines me. It must keep me safe. I need to hold on to this for dear life. When I realized I was doing that, I remember, oh my God, you mean I'm addicted to suffering? I'm, in a sense, taking responsibility for my life? How dare me? I refuse to. So when I recognized that part of me that was terribly afraid of taking responsibility, I wrote a song from that part of me. And it went like this. Thank you, 𝐇𝐎𝐿 𝐶𝐷𝐿. Don't take my pain away from me. Don't leave me here without my misery. 'Cause if I let go, then what might I do? This waking up is hard to do. Remember when I loved to fight? Got so much pleasure just from being right. Now pointing fingers just makes me blue. This waking up is hard to do. They say that waking up is hard to do. So many years of sleeping through. Don't say maybe I could. Instead of waking up, I'd rather hang on to my victimhood. My guru says only God is real. My therapist tells me to feel. Seems every year there's more issues. This waking up is hard to do. They say that waking up is hard to do. I didn't know it was a sing-along. Thank you. It's hard enough to turn off YouTube. Don't say maybe I can. Instead of waking up, I'd rather stay in couch potato land. My challenges, they're here to make me wiser. They'll help me grow just like some fertilizer. I wish I could grow without doo-doo. This waking up is hard to do. Here's the sing-along. Come, don't do-dee-doo, down, down. Come, don't do-dee-doo, down, down. Come, down, do-dee-doo, down, down. Waking up is hard to do. I have a point of view. Yes, I'm going to share it. I just want to point out that to me, points of view are exactly that. It's a point of view. There's a million out there, and for me to insists that my point of view is more valid than yours, well, we've said this throughout the talk. It's fear that causes us to restrict our vision to see only black and white rather than color. By the way, anybody from the new millennium, remember the rainbow song? I mentioned some things I think I should clear up. There used to be such a thing as black and white television. I had one, and then we switched to color. What else in that song? There were some references. Oh yes, the yellow pages. Hey, millennials. Before the internet, there were these yellow books in these things called phone booths. Look it up on AI, because I don't really want to explain it. So where was I? Oh yes, my point of view. My point of view that helps me sleep at night and make sense of the madness is that everyone here is enrolled in Earth University. We're all here taking classes. Everyone. There's no passing. There's no failing. There's every opportunity again and again and again. Some people call it reincarnation, but whatever. There's every opportunity to learn what you came to learn. Some people are taking classes in, I want to speak up. I want to express my outrage. And maybe they got silenced as a child, and it takes courage for them to express themselves. And they're operating with courage, whether it be on Facebook or in arguing. Maybe, just maybe, those people who are speaking out in obnoxious, hurtful ways are learning from their behavior. And then there are other people who may be in a very different classroom where they're containing their outrage and channeling it into love. From outrage to outrageous kindness or creativity or social action. That's a whole different lesson. And we're all here learning a variety of lessons. Sometimes they clash, and then we all get to learn from friction. Some of us have an addiction to friction. But it's not a permanent affliction. We got endless time to get out of our minds and choose something more sublime, more divine. Can somebody get me a glass of wine? Where was I? Earth University. And then there are actual lessons that all of us are learning at the same time. Planetary lessons. One of them I've mentioned a few times tonight, which is dealing with fear. You can call it anything you want. Anxiety, anger, depression, grief. As I said before, theory will tell you what fear is underneath any painful emotion. So there are lessons that we're all learning together. One of them, I think Donald Trump is offering a universal classroom, and his presence is impacting the whole world. And what else? I think COVID, actually. I think COVID, we all learned from COVID, didn't we? The invitation to act as one planet rather than a bunch of separate countries. The invitation for cooperation. I don't know how many people learned it, but we also learned individual lessons. Here's what I saw many of us learning. I saw facial masks, folks getting sick, stuck in our homes, binging Netflix. And I said to myself, it's still a wonderful world. Oh yeah. I saw families slowing down, meals being shared, every emotion from joy to despair. And I said to myself, it's still a wonderful world. Amen. Could it be that the pandemic, traumatic as it was teaching us resilience, maybe even love? I saw friends washing hands, standing 6 feet apart, learning there's no distance between our hearts. Now the shit's hit the fan, it's pouring like a geyser. May good things grow from Donald's fertilizer. Either way I can say, still a wonderful world. Either way I can say, is still a wonderful world. Oh yeah. The 3 hardest words for me to say, and I'm speaking as a MAGA liberal, the 3 hardest words for me to say are, I don't know. They are hard, but when I say them, and I mean them, I start to feel this peace. I feel peace from knowing how much I don't know. And when I think I know, there's no peace. There's no peace at all. Just like clamping down, hardening of the attitudes. I do feel peace when I admit that I don't know. And I don't know if Donald Trump is actually poisonous to the country and to the world, the way part of me is convinced that he's poison. But when I get really real, I can say, well, maybe he is. But even if he is poison, so is chemotherapy. And chemotherapy, I want to give my apologies, no disrespect, Robert Kennedy Jr., but chemotherapy sometimes saves lives. What if Donald Trump is like a colonic? What if the political system is so constipated and that all the shit has been so denied and it's just all clogged up, and along comes a colonic? And he's not intentionally trying to do good, I don't think, but maybe he is. But this colonic comes and all the shit is coming out so we could see it, smell it, and maybe choose differently. But, I think, I'm no Bible scholar, but I think Jesus said something like, love your enemies. What if? I'm not saying I know. I'm just saying, what if we needed him? What if things need to get worse before they get better? What if Kamala got in? It would be business as usual with a pretty face on it. But I don't think anyone. I had a fantasy that Barack Obama would make this huge difference. I don't think one person has that kind of power because of the system. It's so full of shit. So this is just a question, really. What if Donald Trump is helping us faster than anyone else could get to our knees, hit bottom, begin our recovery process as a collective. Wow. And I'm not excusing his behavior, and I'm not turning my eyes away from the pain of the people who are suffering. I'm just taking my microscope and turning it into a macroscope and seeing a bigger picture. What if? What if this swirling world of ours, world famous and world renowned, all of a sudden hit a bumpity bump and got jumbled all around? And all cities, states, and countries got tossed out into space. And when they tumbled down again, fell in some other place. And some fell on each other, some fell into the sea. But all would land at last quite far from where they used to be. So the jumble made new neighbors of every girl and boy, like when Illinois and Mississippi became Mrs. Illinois. There was Buffalo, 𝐸𝐹, Chattanooga, News, Montreal, Albuquerque, and Vancouver, Veracruz, Ottawa, Walla, and Kansas, Saskatchewan, Ogden, Vermont, Anaheim, and California gone. Oh, I'm glad you're having fun, boys and girls. No doubt you too can think up with your grand imaginations how once familiar countries became brand new combinations. Take some time to picture all the places that you go and how they might commingle in this strange scenario. Take some time. Time's up. Now what if when the dust had cleared, there stood face to face simple humans being every color, creed, and race? And what if for an instant we recognized each other as more than just a neighbor, as a sister and a brother? And sure, siblings squabble when they don't see eye to eye, but rarely do those arguments mean that someone has to die. Agree to disagree, it's common in most families. The thread dissolves the threat that says we must be enemies. I heard it once the other day, the Arabs and the Jews are both descent from Abraham. I wonder if it's true. Here's an age-old enmity that's lasted quite a while, a classic case of family that's lived a long denial. For if you are my brother and are sleeping on the streets, if you are my sister and don't have enough to eat, we're kindred spirit, kindred flesh, how can I pass you by? It's there but for the twisting, turning dance of fate go I. What if all the energy that once empowered hate was channeled to one purpose? Just think what we could create. A world unbound by hatred, hunger, homelessness, and war, where songs like this that ask, what if, aren't needed anymore. It's officially over. And I want to thank you so much for coming. Now, here's the part where I pretend that it's really over. And I go off and I go into my limousine. And you guys, with so much enthusiasm, as if your enthusiasm or your voices or your cell phones could summon me to get out of that limousine and do what's called an encore. All right. How about some Q&A? Just for a moment, get curious and see if there are any questions that bubble up, things that are maybe left over or that aren't sitting well with you. And raise your hand and please come up to that microphone, and Wendy will help you raise it or lower it depending on your status. No, dear. Yeah. Tell us your name. What's your name? Path.
First, Drea. A bunch of times you said, Scott, if we could get people to, well, I don't know how you said it, but get people to care about beyond their limited bit. So my brother, his name is Scott. He was my political mentor.
Oh, yeah.
And something happened. And now he really only seems to care ultimately about his family and about his political party, and that's how he got involved in being a MAGA. And how do I get him? How do I get him to
get it?
To care, go all over to care about the other people who are suffering.
Yeah. Okay. Pardon my Bill Clinton impression, but I feel your pain. I do. I feel it. And you can't. That's the short answer. Of course you can't change anybody's mind. What you can do is be the solution, be the change you want to see in the world. And damn it, we have free will. You can't control another person. But I love the question. I love the question because this is such an important point. You and I, maybe many people who are going to see this, have a sense of caring for not just yourself, not just your family, not just your country, but for the well-being and for the suffering of anyone, not just Israel, not just Palestine. Doesn't have to be limited. The heart is meant to be open, wide open. And yeah, it's painful sometimes. And it's challenging to keep your heart open to a global perspective. But I think it's where we're headed. Yeah. Gee, I just happened to have a song. I wrote a children's song about this so many years ago. I think it's pretty appropriate. Old man Jigsaw, he was one, went to pieces just for fun. Now the time to do the puzzle has come, putting the pieces together. Everybody, putting the pieces, putting the pieces, putting the pieces together. Putting the pieces, putting the pieces, putting the pieces together. Mother Rainbow had a dream. She saw her colors were part of a team. She said, "You're not as separate as you seem. Let's put all the pieces together." Everybody, putting the pieces, putting the pieces, putting the pieces together. Putting the pieces, putting the pieces, putting the pieces together. You had your piece, I had mine. We pretended it was fine. We finally found our peace of mind by putting our pieces together. Everybody, putting the pieces, putting the pieces, putting the pieces together. Putting the pieces, putting the pieces, putting the pieces is. All right, here's my favorite part of the song. I ask for forgiveness from Harry Belafonte, but here it is. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. I'm sad to say I'm on my way. Oh my God, what's happening? I'll be back for many a day. My heart is down, I turn around. I had to leave a little girl in. Back to our regularly scheduled song. I don't know where that came from. From outer space, the earth looks fine. There are no borders or countrysides. Borders are fine, but there comes a time for putting those pieces together. Oh yeah! Putting the pieces, putting the pieces, putting the pieces together. Putting the pieces, putting the pieces, putting the pieces together. Oh, what fun. Any other questions? Does anyone feel a question arising? Thank you, sir. What's your name? Social security number?
9336. You can guess the rest.
Oh, okay.
So, thank you. All the anger, powerlessness, sadness, all this sadness, anger, sense of powerlessness that I feel as I read news, that a lot of people feel. What's the bridge into compassion and love?
First of all, who reads the news?
Who else reads the news? All right, see you us desperate.
Okay, listen, I forgot the question. Oh, yeah. No, it's a really serious question. How do we build a bridge from anger? I would say this. By accepting anger as fuel, rocket fuel, to go to where you want to go. We could either focus on what we can't stand or take that energy and be a passionate stand. Anger, hatred, they are passionate energies. You don't just squash them, you use them. Remember I said Ocean Robbins? He's a son of a man who's even more famous in the environmental movement. His name is John Robbins, and I read his book. He's got many books. John Robbins, Diet for a New America. John Robbins was the heir to a fortune, the Baskin and Robbins fortune. His father was Irv Robbins. And he said no to the fortune. And he went off and he built a cabin in British Columbia with his wife and started doing some research about factory farms and put what he found into a book, Diet for a New America. And he almost single-handedly started a revolution of people saying no to meat and dairy, especially that come from these factory farms. And I was lucky enough to be hired to do the music for some of their events. And we became friends. And I was having dinner at his house. And I said, John, I'm always so curious. What motivates you? What gets you out of bed and causes you to devote your whole life to this cause? And he surprised me. He said, rage, Scott, rage. And he looked and always felt so gentle to me, so peaceful. I couldn't even imagine. But what he learned to do was to channel rage into outrageous, passionate. I don't care what anyone thinks, I'm going to do my mission because I am fueled. Rage, love, there is a blend of the two. And that's what you do. That's the bridge from anger to compassion. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. We have time for one more. Is there one? Wow.
Scott, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Scott, I love your impromptu songs. For all the students that you'll be touching and reaching when you go on tour, do you have a song that you could create in the moment? Just a couple of verses, a chorus perhaps, giving them hope. Because what I hear is that there are a lot of discouraged people. What could you say or sing that would provide some hope?
Well, ask your doctor if hope is right for you. You're young, you feel powerless, you sit around and mope. Maybe you take meds just so you can cope. You know there's something deep inside of you called hope. When you have a vision, you really feel hope. Hope is really why we're here. Hope is what's beyond your fear. Hold your vision, hold it clear. You will see it coming near. Now, I'm not saying flush your antidepressants down the toilet. I'm not saying don't be angry. I'm not saying don't be mad. What I am saying is hold the flame. Be a part of the solution. Don't just curse the darkness, light a candle. I think you now get what I mean. Don't say, I have a complaint. Say, I have a dream. Then move towards that dream one step at a time. That's why you're here. Now, pass me that bottle of, everybody say it, wine. I wish I could have found a different rhyme. It was a good end. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. You know what? Is there anybody with a burning question? Anybody? Okay, so all questions are done. Okay, we're going to end. I did a little bit of a Dr. Seuss poem here and there, but I didn't give you the whole enchilada. So we're going to do the poem about fear. This was written in 2012 when the end of the world was happening. Right? Y2K it was called. The Mayan calendar. You know, my grandfather, he grew up fearing the end of the world. World War I was life-threatening to the planet. My parents grew up World War II. This could be the end of the world as we know it. I grew up nuclear madness. I had dreams, nightmares of the end of the world. My daughter's growing up with climate change. Oh my God, the world's going to end. The world is going to end. So this is called, oh dear, the end times are here. Gather, my friends, because the end times are here. Not the end of the world, just the end of your fear. So turn down the lights, make it dark now, I dare ya. Stick around for a while, I'm gonna unscare ya. And when you were young and most things were quite swell, fear knocked on your door with a product to sell. And like most good salesmen, he cast quite a spell while selling insurance called All Is Not Well. Now, All Is Not Well came in its own case. The case that there's danger all over the place. And after you bought it, your all is not well. You felt it your duty to share and to tell. And so, mouth to mouth was how fear procreated, with no YouTube or Facebook to disseminate it. Fear soon went viral all over the globe, using old-time religion to dispense and promote. Because fear knew the way to get globally big was to drive a false wedge between God and her kids. And that's how he came to be so domineering. By replacing God loving with, you must be God fearing. And then fear and religion began co-creating and cooked up a symbol of fear they called Satan. As if infinite love had a worthy opponent with pitchfork in hand who could pounce any moment. Oh, the concept was great for maintaining control, making people behave as if they're on parole. Because when God-fearing people are scared for their souls, they put much more silver and gold in the bowls. So business was booming and fear kept on spreading, and fear loved the credit the devil was getting. Because fear itself likes to stay hidden from view and play hide and seek in its host, which is you. I'm not afraid, I'm just angry, it shouts. I have been mistreated and need to speak out. Oh, I'm not afraid. I'm upset and I'm caring. So many disguises that fear enjoys wearing. He's proud of his wardrobe because he designed it. Though he wouldn't admit it, fear's quite clothes-minded. So he doesn't realize that he's often dressed funny, wearing layers of worry, looking like a stress bunny. When you're not looking, he dresses you too, in stress bunny outfits that don't become you. Because when you wear worry, it wears tight and stiff from statically clinging to imagined what-ifs. Worst-case scenarios fill your projector. Then fear says, don't worry, I'll be your protector. He shows you his life insurance policy and says, here's what you get when you sign up with me. You get top-notch, around-the-clock security. An armored alarm system on your body. And if you're harassed, I'm your personal bouncer. And for making decisions, I'll be your guidance counselor. No more will I let you take risks that could hurt you. Hey, just stick with me, kid. I'll never desert you. Now all of your loved ones have already signed. Don't be a black sheep. Join the flock. You'll be fine. So you signed up and breathed a big sigh of relief because you thought you'd feel safer with fear as your chief. But the contract had fine print, too fine to be seen. And you didn't read the clause that denied you your dreams. From then on, heart's desires that came to be birthed were blocked by your fears before they could reach earth. It seemed your new policy's whole life protection was more birth controlling than all contraception. Now, fear says, get real. That's his bottom line thing. And fear learned what's real from his friend, Stephen King, whose collection of books make outstanding addictions, as long as you realize you are reading fiction. Which is what you can do with your mind's fear collection. Just transfer it all to your mind's fiction section. Because no matter how gripping a tale fear can tell, its original premise that all is not well is a bit upside down in love's universe and deserves to be laughed off the face of this earth. While you are laughing, you let in the light, which makes fear pack his bags and get on the next flight. Because fear needs to feel needed, and when you choose joy, fear has no choice but to be unemployed. Fear used to feel needed when lions were chasing you, gathering speed with intentions of tasting you. But nowadays, most of the lions we find are fictional cats roaming round in our minds. And when you stop feeding the cats in your head, they just go away because they're not getting fed. With a clear head, you are free now to choose a channel that's broadcasting much better news. So you get off your couch and turn off the TV and turn on WLOVE. It's got no commercials and nothing to sell. Just a steady reminder that all is quite well. All is quite well. Is insurance enough? You're already covered by a plan you can trust. You got Universal, the original plan. And there's never a moment you're not in good hands. You're no longer buying fear's insurance scam. Because you know every moment you're in good hands. Thank you for braving the horrible traffic and this horrendous weather.
I want to invite everyone who sees this to come and see Scott Grace for this unbelievable and wildly entertaining show that I super enjoyed. And I have to say, I thought that he was very courageous to pick up this topic. And before I came, I didn't know where's this going to go. And at the beginning of the show, he lets us know he has a liberal bias, but it's not about politics. It's really about how do we challenge ourselves to not be in fear during times that are scary, and how can we keep our hearts open and have a good laugh. And there were some really incredibly beautiful songs, enormous creativity, a lot of laughs, and a lot of joining. It felt like we were all in it together, and we forgot all about the problems, and we were focusing on the solution that we need these days. And so I thought this was incredibly inspiring and bringing hope. And if you have a chance to see it, please do.
Wow, Scott just gave an incredible performance. He is a man of many talents, and not just the creative aspect of him, but just the heart that comes through. He really is supporting, I think, the world right now to release the idea of fear and really start to decide how we can build bridges. So I would highly recommend this performance. You won't be disappointed.
Just want to say that the magic of Scott, and his name is Scott Grace, is that he has the grace to bring us back to our heart, to remember that we're all together and we love each other, that we're all brothers and sisters. And this is so important right now. And I think, people are feeling fear and they don't really understand what is really occurring. But the truth is that change is happening. Change is always happening. We're not always aware that it's occurring. And he made us aware, and he made us aware that ultimately it's for the good. And as long as we believe that we're being guided, as long as we believe that God is here, his presence is among us, then we can know that this change will bring us to a new world, a new earth, where there is love and no more war, where there is peace and we are all in brotherhood and oneness together. We live at Namaste. That is where Scott is, and I live here too. And Namaste is looking at your sister and brother and saying, I see the spirit in you, I see the light in you. Namaste. And that's what he brought here and did here tonight. So I want to thank you. Thank you, Scott. It's a beautiful thing that you shared.
This was such an amazing evening. I felt moved to tears. I loved the laughter. I'm in awe of Scott's talent as a musician, as a speaker, but mostly his amazing open heart and his beautiful consciousness. It was just a great, great, great evening. Thank you, Scott.
They say laughter is the best medicine, and it's so true. Scott brings out the warmth of my heart because I'm laughing, and at the same time, there's such an important moral message in his message, which is, love is all that's real, and we get clothed in fear, and our fear drives us a wedge between us and between our own selves. And so thank you, Scott, so much for helping me laugh, take myself more lightheartedly, and for bringing so much joy into my life.